Are you in the mood for a bracelet tutorial? I'm going to be showing you how to make a gorgeous double strand bracelet. If you're interested, keep watching. Hello everybody, my name's Luisa. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you could join me today. Do you subscribe to the Curated Bead box? If you do, you're in luck because I'm going to be making another bracelet using the beads from that box. Now if you don't subscribe, I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out. But I did an unboxing a few weeks ago, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll go ahead and leave a link for that as well. So anyway, I did make one bracelet about a week ago, but we're going to make another one. And it's going to be a 2-strand bracelet with some really cute charms. Now, if you don't subscribe to that box or you don't have any beads left over, I'll leave a list of all the materials down below so you can go buy some more if you need to. Also, don't forget that I always leave timestamps down below so you can skip forward to any portion of the video you want to watch. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before we start, let me remind you to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be offering you lots and lots of videos, unboxings, tutorials, and by subscribing, it'll help my channel and it'll help me to create more videos for you. Okay, here's the box, and as I said before, it's the Curated Bead box for the month of June. The name of the box is Pastel Paradise. So let me go ahead and pull out the beads that we'll be using today. We're going to be using one of these beads today, and when I first saw these beads, I knew I had to use them because they're so beautiful. Look how gorgeous these are. These are the 10mm Labrodorite Duo Style glass beads, and we're actually only going to need one. We're going to be using 6 of these gorgeous 8mm faceted rounds. The name of the color is Deep Aqua. So here are my 6. We're going to be using 6 of these beautiful rose quartz gemstones, and these are 6mm in size. It's always nice to incorporate gemstones in your jewelry. We're going to use these 4mm turquoise gemstone beads, and I don't know how many we're going to need. It depends on how long you want your bracelet, but we're probably going to end up using the entire strand. In any case, I'm going to leave a list of all the materials down in the description, and more than likely I'll make a 7-inch bracelet, but perhaps you want to make something shorter or longer. It's going to be up to you. We're going to be using 8 of these beautiful 6mm flower metal spacer beads, and we're going to be using some of the items from the Findings starter kit. So you're going to need one of these clasps. We're also going to use some of the jump rings. We're going to be using the head pins to make some charms, and we're going to be using the beading wire. I'm going to be using some large link chain, and these links are actually soldered. I'll be finishing the bracelet with this. It's about 1.5 inches long, and I think each one of these links is about 8mm. Now, if you don't have any chain like this, that's okay. I'll be showing you 2 options on how to finish the bracelet. One using this chain, which is the ideal, and another one using jump rings. So we'll be using the jump rings that came in the kit. So now that we have everything laid out, we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is to arrange our beads. And you can use your mat, you can use a beading board, a bracelet board. I know you can find some that have little channels, little grooves laid out so you can lay out your patterns. I like to use some rods that I actually sell in my Etsy store. They're called magic rods, and I like to use them because it's just easier for me. It's what I'm used to, so that's what I'm going to be using today, but like I said, you can use whatever you want, whatever works for you. Alright, so let's go ahead and arrange some beads. I've already played around a little bit with them, so I kind of know what I'm doing. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the focal in the middle. I always like to start with the focal. And don't you love this bead? Look how gorgeous this bead is. It's so beautiful. So on either side of this focal, I'm going to add one of these beautiful flower spacer beads. So let me go ahead and flip it around, and we'll add one on this side. and these rods come with little stoppers which help to keep the beads in place, and they also help to prevent them from sliding off. So that's what we have so far. Alright, so now we're going to add some of these beautiful deep aqua. They look more like teal to me, but they're just so beautiful. I love this color and it looks so pretty outside. So we're going to add 3 like this. Okay, and now let's go ahead and do the other side. So this is what we have so far. Now we're going to add another metal spacer bead and one of these gorgeous rose quartz beads. These are 6 millimeters in size, like I said before, and another spacer bead. Let me put the stopper on and we'll do the other side and we'll see how it looks. Flower spacer bead, rose quartz bead, and another spacer bead. And that looks really, really pretty. I love it. So we're going to continue. Now we're going to add these gorgeous 4 millimeter turquoise beads. Let me get rid of this curly bit because it's easier to slide them off without that end all curled up. I'm going to go ahead and offload about 4 of them. Slide them onto my rod like this. And I think I need 5, so let me put one more on this side. And we'll put a stopper, flip it, and do the other side, and then I'll measure what we have so far. So 4, I guess I said 5. 5. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and get the ruler and we'll measure it and see if that's what we want. Okay, let's see what we have. We have about 6 inches, and that's going to be just fine because by the time we add the jump rings and the clasps, we're adding another additional inch to the overall length. So I'm going to leave it as is. Now we're going to arrange the beads for the second strand. And for this one, we're going to create a center focal with the rose quartz beads. So I'm going to do 1 rose quartz bead and then a turquoise bead. And then another rose quartz bead. And a turquoise bead. Rose quartz. Turquoise. Rose quartz. And I'm going to add a spacer bead on either side. So let me go ahead and go to the other side now and add the spacer bead. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, why is she doing 4? I have a reason, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. As you can see, we have the large bead in the middle. And whenever you have a large bead like this, you have to think about the second strand and how those beads are going to sit next to the first strand. So I like to use a method called the cradling method or the anchoring method. By doing 4, I'm creating a little space right here in between these center 2. And that little space is going to serve as a cradle for the large bead. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. But can you see how they sit nicely now up against that large bead? If I were to do it like this, it'd be different. It's not that you can't do it like that. It's just that I prefer when the beads sit very snugly up against each other like this. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do it. And so now we're going to fill the rest of the space with the turquoise beads. So we're simply going to thread them on until we get the desired length. I'm going to go ahead and check it and see how many more I need. Let me get some more from the strand. And that looks about right. Okay, it's a little bit shorter, just a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. It's only like a millimeter off. Bring it up so you can see. Okay, it's just a little bit off. Now, if you're one of these people that's really, really meticulous, you could fix that little space very easily by adding a seed bead. I have some 11/0 seed beads in an antique silver color. Now I have two choices. I can put one of these at the end, or I can put it in the middle of the sequence here. And I have about 12 of these, so I can definitely divide it into two sets of 6 and put a seed bead in between. I think I'm going to do that. So let's go ahead and offload 6, thread on a seed bead, and load them back on. As you can see, let me just bring it up so you can see what I'm talking about. Can you see how the two strands are the same length now on this side? By adding that little seed bead there, it really makes a difference. Let me go ahead and load this side now, and then you'll definitely be able to see the exact length of both strands. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I have two perfect strands. They're both the exact same length, and they look lovely. I love how they look. Let me bring them up close so you can see. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks. So now all we have to do is put them on the beading wire. Okay, here's my beading wire, and I recommend that you cut yourself 2 pieces that are 9 inches long, okay, for a 7-inch bracelet, just because it's just easier to have more wire than less, and that way you're not struggling. It all depends on how big your bracelet is, okay? You may want to cut more than 9 inches. Now these crimp beads are really small, and if you're a beginner, it's going to be really difficult for you to get a nice, neat fold on your crimp when you go to crimp it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to cover that crimp bead with a crimp cover. Okay, now these are not in your kit, so you're going to have to go out and buy them. You can find them on Amazon or pretty much anywhere. And these are 4 millimeters in size. Okay, and these are great because they cover up the crimps, and I love using them. By the time you close them, they look like little beads. So let's go ahead and start. Thread on a crimp bead, take the tail and thread it back through that bead. Shorten your loop so it's a nice size loop. You don't want it too big, but you don't want it too small either, okay? Make sure that the beading wire is laying parallel inside that bead, and we're going to go ahead and crimp it. Now these are by Xuron, and if you'll notice, there's a deep groove with something that looks like a tooth that fits right in there. So if I close it, you can see. That's what creates the little U shape in your crimp bead. And then these other little channels are for folding the crimp bead over. So we have large, medium, and small. Usually I use the medium one, but it depends on what size crimp bead you're using. Okay, I think these are going to be okay for the medium. But I always start with a medium and then I go to the small size to tighten it up a little bit more. But anyway, we're going to start here because that's what creates that U shape. So you're going to place your crimp bead inside that divot, like this. And you want to go ahead and give it a squeeze. Okay, so this is what you should have. Turn it on its side. Choose whichever one of those channels you want to use. Okay, I'm using the middle one. And then when you squeeze it, you'll see that it folds that crimp. Okay, and then I always go to the small one to tighten it a little bit more. This is what you should have. Now to me it's not that attractive looking because it's a rounded kind of crimp bead. I like to use the ones that are cylinder shape because I get a much cleaner looking crimp bead. But this is going to have to do for now. So now you just come in here with some flush cutters and cut off the excess. Okay, get your crimp cover, slide it on, and if you go it from underneath it's easier. And then you can actually come in here with your crimping pliers and close it up very gently because you don't want to dent that metal. Or you can use this kind of crimp plier. These are actually really good for closing crimp covers. But you do have to be careful because you don't want to make any dents, okay? So just work your way around because you want a nice round shape. You don't want it to be egg-shaped. You want it to be round. And this is what you should have. Okay, once you have that, you're going to go ahead and load your beads. And we're going to start with this one. Okay, I've finished loading them, and now we're going to add a crimp bead, and we'll do the same thing. Bring it down, thread the tail through it, shorten your loop. You can come in here with some pliers and grab the beading wire really carefully. You don't want to bend it, okay, because it will bend if you mess with it too much. And then pull the other end to get a nice sized loop. Okay, check it to make sure there's enough movement. You don't want it too stiff because then it's really hard to put it on, okay, and it just doesn't drape properly. So once you have the correct spacing and everything and you've got your correct size loop, you're going to come in here with your pliers again using that first divot, give it a squeeze, turn it on its side, and go ahead and squeeze it again, folding that crimp, and then squeeze it again to tighten it some more. Snip off the excess. Place your crimp cover on and close it up really carefully. Okay, so this strand is done. And now we're going to work on this one. Same thing. Thread a crimp bead on, take the tail, thread it back through. Shorten your loop, make sure the wires are sitting parallel to each other inside that crimp bead. And then go ahead and give it a crimp. Snip off the excess, insert it inside the crimp cover, close up your crimp cover, I'm going to go ahead and load these beads. I'm going to fast forward and I'll be right back. Okay, this one's loaded, and now we're going to go ahead and thread on a crimp bead. Bring it down, thread the tail back through, shorten the loop, check it to make sure it's not too stiff, make sure the wires are sitting parallel inside the bead and crimp it. Cut off the excess. Slide your crimp cover on. Go ahead and close it. So now we're going to go ahead and connect the clasp. You need a jump ring and your lobster claw clasp. Open up your jump ring, thread one of the strands onto the jump ring, and then thread the other one, and then your lobster claw clasp like this, and close it up. Make sure your jump ring is closed really, really well. Check it. I always like to run my finger on it to make sure it's closed properly. So that's that side, and now we're going to do the other side. So before we add the jump ring, we're going to go ahead and make the charms. You can make these charms however you want, guys, okay? It's completely up to you. You can use the same kind of beads, including these Faceted beads, which are really cute. I wouldn't recommend using anything larger than 8mm though, okay? Now if you ever get a head pin that's bent like this, it's very easy to straighten out, okay? Don't panic. Some people don't like head pins that are bent, but it's really not a big deal, okay? Usually you get a few that are bent, and that's okay. Now in addition to these beads, I'm going to use a flower cap bead that I had in my stash. You can find these on Amazon as well, and it caught my attention because it's the same color as this rose quartz. So what I'm going to do now is take this beautiful 8mm faceted bead, and I'm going to put it inside that flower bead, just like that. Doesn't that look cute? I love it. I'm also going to add one of these turquoise beads at the very top. So this makes a really pretty little charm. To make the charm, you simply come in here with some round nose pliers, and you place your pliers at the very top of that bead, like this. Give it a kink. Okay, and now you've got a little space there to make wraps. So you're going to reposition your pliers to this end of the wire, like this. Take the wire, wrap it around the nose of your pliers, like this. Flip your pliers around, and I like to roll my pliers a little bit at this point because it helps to get that loop closer to the bead, and then continue to wrap to the back, like this. Take your pliers out, and I like to grab my loops with something that grabs really well, and these pliers, because they have a very skinny tip, they grab really well any size loop. So I like to use these for this purpose. And then get another set of pliers, and you're going to grab that tail and do a couple of wraps. Now these are the head pins that came with a kit, and they're pretty hard. So I'm only going to do 2 wraps. Once you have your 2 wraps, you're going to cut off the excess. So you want to come in here with some flush cutters really close. Snip off the excess, and then tuck in any little sharp end that you may see sticking out. Okay, so there's one little charm that's really cute. And now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use these beads, this one and this one. Same thing. Place your pliers at the top of the bead like this. Bend your wire so you have this shape. Reposition your pliers. Take the end of the wire and wrap it around the nose of the pliers. You can roll the pliers a little bit if you need to get closer to that bead. Okay, it's up to you. So now you have this. remove your pliers, grab the loop with a set of pliers, and then take another set and do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess. And tuck in whatever end is sticking out. So there's your other charm. We're going to do one more. We're going to go ahead and use this spacer bead and one more of these turquoise beads like this. Snip off the excess and tuck it in. So these are my 3 charms. Okay, so to finish the bracelet, we're going to grab a jump ring, open it up, connect your strands to the jump ring, like this, and now connect your large link chain to the jump ring and close up your jump ring. You want to make sure you close it really, really well. Check it from all angles. Okay, once you have that, grab another jump ring, and I'm going to take this smaller charm and connect it to the end of this extended chain like this. Close it up. Okay, so this allows the wearer to hook it onto any one of these rings. And if you're giving it away and you're not sure of the person's wrist, this is a great way to finish your bracelet, because then you don't have to guess and they can adjust it accordingly. So now we're going to connect these other 2 charms. So we're going to open another jump ring, and I'm going to connect it to the first jump ring, the one that has the strands on it. Okay, and now connect your charms and close it up. And there you go. How cute is that? Don't you love it? Now, if you don't have this type of chain, it's not that difficult to find. You can find it on the internet, but I'm going to show you an option so that you can finish your bracelet today. Okay, I don't recommend this option if you're selling it or giving it away as a gift. Okay, but for yourself, I guess it's okay. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to create your own extended chain. Okay, and you're going to do that with your jump rings. So it's the same process. You connect your strands to one jump ring just like this, and then you connect a bunch of jump rings to each other, and I've already connected 3 there. Okay, let me close this up and I'll show you. You just have to make sure your jump rings are really closed. Okay, I don't recommend this. This is not the ideal, but I have seen it done before. Okay, so you make your own just like that. And you can make it as long as you want. Let me just remove this charm from this extender. Okay. You can make it as long or as short as you want. You just have to make sure your jump rings are closed very, very well. That's the only problem with that. Okay. So there I've added 4 jump rings. Okay. And the charms are connected the same way with a jump ring. So you end up with a similar finished product, okay? But like I said, those jump rings need to be closed, and it's definitely not the same as using chain that has soldered links. This is much more secure, okay? But you do have that option for those of you who are anxious to get this project done using the items from the box without having to go out and find some more items. Here it is, isn't it pretty? I love these colors and I love this bead here. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And I love the dangles. The dangles are so cute. Very, very nice. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and I hope you get to make your own bracelet. And like I said, I will leave a list of the materials down in the description for those of you who don't subscribe to the Curated Bead box. Let me go ahead and clean this up and I'll come back and say goodbye. Okay everybody, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you can go out and make your own bracelet, and even if it's not the same, you can make something similar. Hopefully I've inspired you to pull out the beads and make a bracelet for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.